there, thank you for joining me. Today we are looking into stretching and specifically our quads and hip flexors, the front of the thighs. So there are many ways to do that. I like to stretch a muscle by using the opposing or opposite muscle. So if we want to stretch the quad, the front of the thigh, it's helpful to engage the back of that muscle, which is the glute or the hamstring. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on stretching into your right quad. So I want you to step your left foot forward. And you're going to take that foot forward far enough that when we do eventually come into the lunge, that the knee doesn't track too far over the toes, but that the knee is more or less over the ankle. So what we want to focus on too is alignment, so making sure your left foot's in line with your left hip, and then your right knee's right underneath your pelvis. So the concept here of getting that right glute engaged is going to be quite helpful if you can think about getting your pubic bone to tilt up towards your chin. So if I let my pelvis release backwards and it's kind of like I lift my tail, the opposite of that would be to tuck my tail under. I'm going to keep that position, activate the glute by just gently squeezing that muscle. Then I'm going to take my weight forward into what we call a kneeling or a half kneeling lunge. This is going to open up this hip joint and stretch it out. If I feel any compression in my front knee, I'll walk the foot further forward to release the knee, but that also deepens the stretch. So be mindful of how deep you take the stretch. Your right kneecap, the one you're leaning on, shouldn't be uncomfortable or painful. You can always double up your mat or have a little cushion there, but do try and have the weight above the kneecap rather. And we're going to hold the stretch, relaxing into it and breathing easily for about 20 seconds or so. It's a beautiful position to just hold, to open up this hip, and also to keep the glute active is going to give you more release through the hip. If you want an additional release, you can take that same arm up and do a very slight lift of the heart space, which will take you through a longer stretch through that whole front body. Once you've done your 20 seconds, you'll bring that back in, bring the leg in, and then we'd step the other foot forward. Walk it forward far enough that you once again remember that your knee tracks rather over your ankle. And then we're going to take that pelvis into a gentle tilt, pubic bone lifting, squeezing into the left glute, and simply leaning yourself forward into a beautifully aligned lunge, foot in line with hip joint, and then holding that position there. You let your arms release to your sides. And then if you want to add that additional stretch, taking the left arm up, and then just slightly inclining the heart space up, and breathing nice and freely and easily. And you can hold this for about 20 seconds as well. And then when you've done your 20 seconds, you safely bring yourself out of that, bringing your legs back together. And there you go. Simple, easy. That is your hip flexor stretch, just one way to release the tightness that starts to accumulate into the front of the hips from lots of sitting. And at the same time, our glutes get weak. So it's a nice double exercise to get a little bit of strength into the back line as we release the front line. Thank you for joining me.